Welcome to the Verdin Sports Show, where we bring you sports talk on the go. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. Today we got a positive post-game recap. Not anything like we had last week. We have LSU versus Florida, big win, 45-35 for the Tigers. It kind of looked shaky in the end, but some good last-minute defense separated the men from the boys here tonight in Gainesville. Jayden Daniels showed up and showed out. He showed us exactly what we've been looking for him as a lead. He got a lot of guys in the receiving core open. Big game for some guys out in the backfield. Offensive line came out, and they had their moments here and there where you were kind of scratching your head, where's the coverage? But all in all, I think they did pretty good, and they changed the tune up, at least for me. Jayden Daniels still got active in that run game, which is pretty vital. You see him score 3 touchdowns in it. So here's my thing: if Jayden Daniels is running for as much as the running backs, but he can produce 3 touchdowns, let him run. Let him run. Look what happened tonight. At the end of the day, yeah, we want to see our receivers get active early, but tonight we saw the perfect balance of LSU offense. We saw Keyshawn Boutte break the century mark in a single game. We saw Dre Jenkins with a great touchdown. He's money. BT with a great touchdown, great ball security, also money. John Emery getting in there again, looking like he's back to old Emery. Looked like he never missed a beat. Really, he's getting that rust off of him, like Brian Kelly was hoping. Uh, I'm pretty excited to see how LSU can take this momentum and turn it into something going forward. We got Ole Miss coming up here at home. Homecoming game going to be pretty rough. We're gonna man, I don't even know, bro. We're gonna go on a little bye week. Bama, Arkansas. It's probably gonna test us rough. I don't know how I feel about that Ole Miss game, especially with them staying undefeated, looking like they're gonna crack into that top five or at least have a pretty good shot. It's gonna be a rough one. At least we get it at home. We don't have to travel to Lane Kiffin, but tonight they gave me some good optimism against Florida, especially because Jayden Daniels showed accuracy in the passing game. 23 completions here tonight, 9 fewer than what he had Saturday. Still a great performance, season high in passing yards, 349, 15 yards on average per completion with 3 passing touchdowns. Jayden Daniels is responsible for 6 touchdowns tonight, and crazy part is we only scored 6. So at the end of the day, when your quarterback is that efficient, that explosive, and that skillful, you got to keep the ball in his hands as often as possible. I think that's the method to the madness here in LSU. Like it or not, it's kind of, it's kind of worrisome at times if he sits in the pocket a little too long, gets hit, and we can't create anything. And when we have nothing left, and they keep trying to go to it, keep trying to go to it, that's a little different. But here tonight, it all fell together perfectly. The play calling looked a lot better. Everybody looked a lot more composed. You saw Brian Kelly giving Jayden the eyes here for a mean little stare down, but it might have motivated him. He went out there and yelled at him, told him wake up, and JD5 responded well. I think he showed what we needed to see in Jayden Daniels. I'm pretty impressed with him. His whole teammates were impressed with him. That LSU offense is looking a lot better. Y'all make sure to drop your comments, your thoughts, what y'all thought about the game, different questions you might have. But all in all, Josh Williams is out here showing that he's the clear-cut RB2. When Armani Goodwin comes back, I think he's going to stay in that lead role. I mean, he's leading us in yards still, but Josh Williams, who leads us in carries, had another 14 tonight, 100 yards, 7.6 yards per carry on average. Incredible. Longest run was 50 yards on the night. John Emery got in there with a couple touches, averaging around 4. But John Emery saw, a lot of his work in the receiving aspect. He caught 3 balls, 24 yards. You also saw Kyron Lacey get active with a couple catches. You saw Cole Taylor get active. Malik Neighbors, of course, doing his thing out there. But Dre Jenkins is money. He, you can trust him to get open and to be that surefire, reliable target. He's got that veteran experience. You can't shake him. It don't matter where he is, who's guarding him, or what you want him to do. You can trust him with the ball. He's shifty. He's crafty. I spoke with him Tuesday night, and I asked him, what does LSU have to do to get that passing offense going? And it seems like they hit the nail right on the head with the preparation this week. I don't know if it was a scheme thing, if it was a feeling thing about what happened last week, but whatever the case may be, it worked out well for the Tigers tonight. Brian Kelly looked composed on the sideline. At times, he's risking it for the biscuit, and he's sitting there calm, cool, collected, not a drop of sweat on BK's forehead. It was a great night for LSU football. It started off rough, but that's kind of been how things have gone lately for the purple and gold. They kind of go out there and looks like they need some WD-40 in a couple gears, a couple adjustments. They switch some things up and wind up hitting the nail on the head, like we said earlier. It just seems like these guys, these guys with the way that they bounce back and the way that they draw things up after hitting adversity mid game is phenomenal. They're going to be able to adjust to what Alabama can throw at them or what Ole Miss can throw at them. If they erase the minor mistakes, if everyone can go out here and play like they did tonight, they carry this momentum into Ole Miss at home, loud crowd. It's a 2:30 p.m. kickoff, so we can't get that Saturday night in Death Valley experience that CBS is prohibiting us from experiencing. But at the end of the day, LSU football is looking good, looking good. The keys to the game prior was we needed some run game action. We needed the guys to help out Jayden. We didn't need Jayden to tire himself out, burn himself out, get smoked, get hit. And then on top of that, speaking of getting hit, he needs to get protected by the offensive line. 6 different offensive line combination we saw tonight. It looked like it worked. Garrett Dellinger is out, so we're gonna hope for a speedy recovery for him off that MCL injury. He's gonna pop back in at his guard spot and take over for Anthony Bradford. But all in all, Will Campbell's finding his home out there. Miles Frazier, Emory Jones. Looks like they're setting well into their roles, which is good news for LSU football. These guys starting to become more familiar with each other. It's hard too when you got 6 different offensive line combinations through 6 weeks, or 7 weeks. But I mean, it's coming together. I think that going forward, these next stretch of games are going to really put a lot of stripes on these kids' shoulders. They're not going to be true freshmen anymore going after this. It's not like you're at USC or Ohio State with a couple rough patches. You're about to play some of the toughest teams in the country. You just played Tennessee. You're about to play Ole Miss. You're about to play Alabama, and then not to mention very talented teams such as Florida, such as Arkansas, such as A&M, who might not show it in the rankings, but they got a lot of stuff behind the scenes going on that makes them pretty decent competition. And not only that, but it's solid rivalry games, and it'll be filled with animosity and filled with a lot of emotional plays like we saw tonight here. You had a lot of personal fouls. You had some questionable tackles made by LSU players as well as Florida players. You saw some roughing the passers. You saw uh, some slinging on the sidelines. You saw a lot of action, a lot of aggression. But that's college football for you, especially in a primetime game like this where the lights are on and emotions are flowing. You got 2 first-year teams trying to find that identity, trying to establish that culture. But at the end of the day, LSU got it done. Brian Kelly beat out Billy Napier in the battle of wits. Pretty impressed with how LSU's heading out. Going forward for Ole Miss, I think a lot of rest will be needed throughout this week. These guys definitely were put through the ringer. These guys, it's not necessarily a shootout, but at the end of the day, still a 10-point lead, right on the cusp of being another one possession game. But LSU enters now with the longest win streak, or excuse me, they tied the longest win streak in the rivalry history. They're now 4 straight wins against Florida. Pretty impressive. LSU's been able to handle the Gators pretty well. Um, Big start tonight. They go out to a 42-21 lead. I kind of thought it was put to bed after that. And then Anthony Richardson wants to answer back with an 81-yard touchdown. ESPN mentions Tom Petty 457 times throughout the night, saying maybe Tom Petty gave him a boost they needed. Maybe Heron won't back down, gave him the boost they needed. Whatever the case may be, maybe Tom Petty was even in some pads tonight. Maybe ESPN got him some sideline access and, the whole 9 yards. Who knows? But shout out Tom Petty. Shout out the Heartbreakers. LSU didn't back down tonight. Wipes off Florida. Wipes off the Gators. Hitting the Tiger Trump 4 years in a row. Hopefully we can do the same thing to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and put a blemish on that perfect record they've had so far. It'll be interesting. We'll be covering it Monday. Brian Kelly press conference Tuesday. We'll talk to some of the boys. We'll have some of those interviews posted up for you. Talk to Brian Kelly again on Thursday. We're going to go live, break down the game prior, pregame, postgame. You know the drill. Make sure to follow the socials in the description. This has been the Verdin Verdict. Another good Tigers win. Can't complain. Y'all have a good night.